The Oklahoma Sooners are looking to add some talent to the defensive tackle rotation.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play Store. And Josh, you're sitting in the lovely, beautiful, scenic views of Provo, Utah, getting ready for Oklahoma baseball this weekend as the Sooners take on the Cougars. How you feeling, man? Are you excited? You pumped for the 3-game series?
I'm in the house that Billy Bowman built recently in the fall. It really is gorgeous in Provo. The mountaintops as the backdrop. It's a cool college town. I wish we had gotten to enjoy each other's company a little bit longer than the 1 year. But yeah, no, it's great to be here, and obviously, hopefully OU baseball plays well.
Yeah, and it was the site of Jackson Arnold's big second half appearance where, he wasn't asked to do a whole lot, but he made the plays that he was asked to make and had a couple opportunities that I'm sure he'd like back, but good learning experience for him to help Oklahoma win that game against the Cougars and stay in the Big 12 title race. So, man, it's important right now because the Oklahoma Sooners are in the transfer portal hunt. They're looking to add some defensive tackle depth. I'm as big a fan of Jaden Jackson and David Stone as maybe anybody on earth, especially Jaden Jackson. I mean, that's my guy. That's my guy in the 2024 class. But you don't have a lot of experience there. You got Dejon Terry, who's a really good run-stuffing defensive tackle, but beyond that, you don't have a guy that's played more than 100 snaps at the collegiate level. Those are just the facts. As optimistic as you can be about a Grayson Halton, as optimistic as I am about Jaden Jackson, and it sounds like Jaden Jackson has a chance to contribute even as a true freshman. At the same time, you're going into the SEC. You're going to play 8 games in conference play. If things go well, you make the college football playoff, maybe the SEC championship game, the college football playoff, and hopefully play 2, 3, maybe 4 games. You are going to need to have really good defensive tackle depth for this year and years beyond, because the schedule is picking up, and what you thought you had in defensive tackle depth, you don't really have, because Jacob Lacey's gone. He's having to medically retire. And so you need to find some guys with experience, and Oklahoma is set to host 3 dudes with experience this Saturday at the spring game. Indiana transfer Philip Blidi, also Jermayne Lole from Louisville, and one Damonik Williams, no relation to me, from TCU. 3 guys that I think could be very helpful and very impactful players for the Sooners if they're able to get them. Josh, just briefly, we're going to touch on some of the thoughts that we have from some other Locked On hosts, but just give me your thoughts on what Oklahoma is attempting to do in the transfer portal cycle here at defensive tackle.
Well, I think that Oklahoma loves what it has in Jaden Jackson, in David Stone, the young defensive tackles. I think they feel good about what they have with Dejon Terry, and maybe even a Grayson Halton, or toss another name that's been around for Oklahoma. But the bottom line is, you're going to the SEC, and trench warfare is where the battles are won. And Oklahoma needs to beef up in the interior of its defensive line. And the Jacob Lacey news obviously did not help Oklahoma. So as far as where I'm sitting, I think that probably I don't know that Oklahoma has room for all 3. Maybe in a perfect world, you'd love to bring on all 3, but I could see 2 out of the 3, and definitely 1. If they could just get 1 out of the 3, would make you feel better about what the interior of Oklahoma's defensive line, what it looks like, and the experience that it has going into this 2024 season.
So let's hear what our host from Locked On Hoosiers had to say about Philip Blidi.
Philip Blidi has entered the transfer portal. I'm Jacob Goins, host of Locked On Hoosiers. Philip Blidi is a 6'3", 295-pound super senior who is entering his final year of college. Transferring from Texas Tech to Indiana as a defensive lineman, he recorded 10 solo tackles and 20 assisted tackles last season, with also a pass deflection on the defensive line. It's his quickness, his speed off the ball, and his hands that get to the quarterback and get to those running backs as well that have made him one of the most valuable and most sought-after guys on the defensive side in this year's transfer portal cycle. He's a great addition for any team looking to fill that void, whether it be a starter or a really, really good rotational guy on the defensive line. Philip Blidi, a super senior looking for a new home, leaving Indiana in the transfer portal.
I look at what Philip Blidi has to offer, and a lot of it is experience. With Indiana, he played 444 snaps along the defensive line for the Hoosiers, but he also played several years at Texas Tech. The few years prior, he's a guy that's going to be an impactful run stuffer. He's got good size. He's going to be able to play both, the 1 tech and the 3 tech defensive tackle spots. And as Mr. Goins says, he's going to have the opportunity to either be a starter or at least a rotational player. And we know that Oklahoma and Todd Bates like to rotate their defensive tackles. So finding a guy that can play both roles would be really, really helpful for the Sooners.
Sure. Absolutely. And here's somebody that had 30 tackles, 4 TFLs a season ago for the Hoosiers. I do think with Oklahoma, probably he winds up as a rotational piece, but adding Blidi it'd be a good get for Oklahoma.
And then let's hear what Steven Simcox of Locked On Horned Frogs had to say about Damonik Williams.
TCU defensive tackle Damonik Williams is in the transfer portal. I'm Steven Simcox, host of Locked On Horned Frogs. Damonik Williams is a big-time impact player. He was a 3-star recruit out of high school. He's originally from California. He was one of the first commitments that Sonny Dykes got when he moved over from SMU and took the job at TCU, and he's been a massive part of the TCU defense for the past 2 seasons. Really good size for your prototypical interior defensive lineman, 6'2", 320 pounds. He's made every start. He started as a true freshman, game 1 against Colorado in the season opener. He was in the middle for the Frogs, and he had been in the middle of that defense ever since. Very good at stopping the run, great at the point of attack. He was a freshman All-American in 2022. Last season, he was an all-conference player. From a numbers perspective, he had 3 sacks in 2023, a sack and a half in 2022, 33 total tackles in 2023, and 27 in 2022. But what Dominic does so well is he takes on double teams. He allows linebackers and other players to float the ball. He's a big interior presence that can also pressure the quarterback and make an impact. I think he's been the best player on the TCU defense for the past 2 seasons.
And this is a TCU defense that helped them reach the national championship game in 2022. And Williams 2022. And he was a true freshman in that season. So it just goes to show, if Steven believes that he was the best defender on that defense for the last 2 years, I mean, that's a big time player that's now in the portal and coming to visit Oklahoma for the spring game.
And because of the starting pedigree from day one, I do think that, Williams, older guy, a lot of production. Steven ran it down, but 60 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks during his time at TCU. That's something that'll play. It'll play straight away, I think, in a starting capacity if Williams were to choose Oklahoma. If you get both Williams and Blidi, then all of a sudden we look at this defensive tackle, interior defensive line depth of Oklahoma. You got a ton of experience when you think of those 2 guys and Dejon Terry. And, oh, by the way, you've got the explosive athleticism from the youngsters in Jackson and Stone. But, hey, there might be one other name to add.
Yeah, and Jermayne Lole is no slouch in his own right. Out of Louisville, a really, really productive player. Again, another interior defensive tackle, a guy that has plus 300-pound size. I think he listed at 310 when I looked at Louisville's website. But again, really good size to play that nose tackle spot. And that nose tackle spot, it's not the spot that you're going to see a ton of production, although Damonik Williams has it. It's that spot that's doing all that dirty work to make things a lot simpler for your linebackers like Danny Stutzman and Kip Lewis and Jaron Kanik. And that's a linebacker crew that will be benefited if Oklahoma is able to land 1 or 3 of these guys, or 2 of these guys, at least. Adding depth to the defensive line is going to be huge and paramount for Oklahoma this season. Those SEC offensive lines are going to be big and strong and physical, and you're going to need to add some of that big, strong, and physicalness up front in order to contend as well. Spring game just a few days away. A lot to be excited about. It's our first opportunity to see the true freshman on the field. It's going to be our first opportunity to see Jackson Arnold as a starting quarterback. So who are we looking forward to watching this Saturday? Hopefully this Saturday, maybe this Friday, maybe Sunday. Who knows what the spring game is going to be, when it's going to be. We'll discuss that. And coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
Would it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts just in that one place? Well, with Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis that you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. They're the number one finance destination. You could securely link your brokerage accounts for a unified view of your wealth, including 401k and other investments, a comprehensive perspective. That's what sets apart the great investors. So for comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. One more time, that's yahoofinance.com.
The Oklahoma Sooners are set to have their spring game coming up this Saturday, but the NFL draft is just around the corner as well. Go check out the Locked On NFL mock draft. It's available now. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On NFL Draft to hear who the Locked On local experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle of the Locked On NFL mock draft, available now on Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So spring game, Josh, big time opportunity for a lot of folks to show what they have and what they're going to be capable of in 2024. Let's start with the dudes returning to the field, returning for the Sooners in 2024. Who's a guy on the offensive side of the ball that's coming back that you're excited to watch in the spring game this Saturday?
A returner. Well, Javante Barnes, to see what the health looks like and how explosive can he be, really just running back in general. Sawchuk, Barnes, those two guys, if we're talking returning offensive players, I think each of those two will be certainly a couple that I'm keeping my eye on.
Yeah, for me, I'm really eager to see how the offensive line looks, whether it's a Jacob Sexton or a Heath Ozida, those are guys that you're trying to develop into starting and legitimate Power 4 college football offensive linemen and maybe even NFL prospects at some point. Josh Bates, friend of the show, Josh Bates, who we've had on multiple times before he got to Norman. This is a kid that has all the toughness, all the talent, all the right demeanor to go be an impactful center. What's he going to look like going up against a Dejon Terry, a Jaden Jackson, a David Stone, and leading the way at the center position now that Troy Everett's not available until late in fall camp? I think the offensive line is going to be what a lot of folks are going to be looking at. But with those three guys in particular, these are Bill Bedenbaugh recruits, homegrown dudes. These are not transfer portal additions. These are not guys that come with a lot of experience that are looking to take their game to the next level. No, these are guys that you recruited out of high school. So it's now time for those guys to take over and start making hay for what you recruited them to do. So I'm going to be eager to see how they perform. Now, how they perform in this spring game doesn't necessarily write the story for what they'll look like in 2024, but it could give us a bit of an indication of, okay, where are we at? It's going to set the stage for, all right, do we need some help? Are we going to continue to improve? Are we going to get better? Are we going to develop? Where are we going to be at come this time next this coming August? So a lot to look forward to on that front. On the defensive side, Josh, who's a returner that you're excited to watch?
Peyton Bowen. Want to see if that stardom is continuing to progress. I would say toss a name not named Danny Stutzman at linebacker into the hat and draw it out. I've told you that a lot. That to me, I think that's an important detail for Oklahoma, that they need to find another star alongside Danny Stutzman. So that could be Desan McCullough. It could be Kip Lewis. I mean, there's a number of guys it could be right there for Oklahoma. So those guys, I'm curious to see those returnees, what they look like.
Yeah, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I was going to go with Jaren Kanig, because this is a guy that a lot of people are ready to throw away. They're kind of writing off whether or not he can be a starting linebacker at Oklahoma. And I don't think we can completely talk about who he is based on 1 year or at least half a season as a starter. were there some moments where like, hey, these are learning opportunities and you got to get better? Yeah, there absolutely were a lot of learning opportunities for Jerry Kanik, but he's still a very, very young player, at the University of Oklahoma. He's still got time to develop and be an impactful player. He's got all the athleticism in the world. He's learning from some of the best, in college football on the defensive side of the ball. So there's a chance that he could still be one of Oklahoma's starting linebackers. I'll be curious to see what kind of steps he's taken, what kind of development he's underwent so far this spring as well. Freshman. Let's talk freshman football. Oklahoma on the offensive side, we got a lot of really, really intriguing freshmen to pick from here, Josh.
Well, one of the receivers, because of what's happened, obviously, with Farouk, can one of the young receivers show up and show out? Obviously, you think about Xavier Robinson for Oklahoma. You think about any of the offensive linemen that are freshmen for Oklahoma. So those are a couple of names to come to mind from the freshman crop in this game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Michael Hawkins. The buzz is there. The potential is there. He's got all the electricity in the world. The dude runs well, throws well, is very athletic, has the mind for the game. How quickly is he going to be ready to roll? Could he potentially be your backup quarterback in 2024, ready to take the reins in 2025 or 2026? I mean, who knows what the timelines are going to look like for these guys over the next several years, but I mean, the future is very, very bright for a guy like Michael Hawkins. Defensively, Josh, this is where I think everybody's going to be eager to see what Oklahoma has, especially up front.
Yeah, it's Jaden Jackson, right? Jaden Jackson, David Stone, those two guys. But what about, the Nigel Smiths of the world outside on the defensive line?
Danny Okoye.
Okoye, yeah. I mean, there's a number of intriguing defensive line players for OU, not just interior freshman defensive linemen, but, guys playing on the edge as well. I'm curious to see, is there a freshman corner or a freshman defensive back, safety cheetah that's going to come in and kind of turn some heads a little bit? I don't know that there's one name that, for me, I'm zeroed in on in that respect, but I'm curious to see those guys fly around a little bit too.
I mean, at safety, we've heard good things about Jaden Hardy, Michael Boganowski, Reggie Powers at certain points during spring ball. So it's possible that each of those three guys could go out and have a big spring game and kind of thrust themselves into that safety rotation. Because we've talked about it. Oklahoma likes to play 3-4 safeties at times. How you classify Kendall Dolby might determine, how much safety snaps are available for those true freshman safeties, but the safety position is as stacked as any, maybe aside from wide receiver on this team right now. And so there's a lot to be excited about with that group. As far as the freshman corners, yeah, I mean, Jeremiah Newcomb, he was Oklahoma's first commit in the 2024 recruiting class. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of eyes, looking to see, okay, is there a guy like a Jeremiah Newcomb or an Eli Bowen or, a Devin Jordan, the local kid out of Tulsa, can one of those guys, take a step and be an impactful player in year one? That's going to be really curious. Man, there's so much. I mean, the defensive line is stacked. Danny Okoye, he's got all the athleticism to be a freak out there on the field, and he's got the size too, and can make life really, really difficult for some of those freshman offensive linemen. So those matchups, the defensive line versus offensive line, are going to be really, really intriguing to watch. Obviously, everybody's going to be excited to see what Jackson Arnold does, Deion Burks as well. Is there a transfer, maybe Deion Burks or maybe another transfer that you're looking at and you're excited to watch this week?
It's Bauer Sharp. After everything that's been said, I got to see if this guy is as athletic as advertised. Is he going to go out there and make a bunch of plays and look like a starting Oklahoma tight end? Because the great Oklahoma the great Oklahoma teams have had a great Oklahoma tight end. You take it all the way back as many years as you want, and a lot of the great Oklahoma teams have great tight ends. And in recent memory, that obviously holds true too. So Bauer Sharp is, you could ask me freshmen, returnees, transfer portal, out of everybody, he's somebody I'm most intrigued to watch.
Yeah, tight end is a position that has to help you more this year than it did last year. You can't get by at any level with, they won 10 games with basically getting next to nothing out of the tight end position last year. What could they have done if they would have had a Braden Willis for one more season in 2023? Who knows? Hopefully Bauer Sharp can return the tight end to its place of proper glory with the Oklahoma Sooners. There's been a bit of a debate raging on social media about Oklahoma charging for the spring game. This is no surprise to anybody that's been following Oklahoma athletics, but other fan bases caught wind of it and started wondering, should Oklahoma be charging for the spring game for a quote unquote scrimmage? We're going to talk about that next, coming up here on Locked On Sooners. Guys, I need you all to listen up for this huge announcement. I have been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it, and I'm super pumped to announce I am finally on top. That's right. Obviously, I'm talking about the hit mobile game Monopoly Go. You've probably heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly. You can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. Charge rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. You can charge your friends rent on your iconic properties or go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. But my favorite part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So go get yourself on the charts. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store and Google Play. So, Josh, the debate has been raging, and it started mostly with non-Oklahoma Sooners fans. But then Oklahoma Sooner fans started kind of discussing it amongst themselves to see, okay, should Oklahoma be charging $15 to come into Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium to watch Oklahoma in their spring game? I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And I say, I'm fine with it. I am perfectly okay with the University of Oklahoma saying, hey, look, $15, come to the spring game, come watch, not because we need the money, but here's why I think it's important to charge for events like this. One, it shows that the University of Oklahoma values the time that it's putting on and the preparation that it's putting on, not just for the football team, but for all of the event staff that will be in attendance, all the concessions that will be in attendance. And they believe, because it's an important day, that there's a monetary value that they can associate with that. And what I've learned in my life, not only working in America, but working overseas, is that a lot of times people don't value free. They either take it for granted, don't take the opportunity to enjoy it, or they abuse it. And charging $15, not only is it saying, Oklahoma fans, we believe in what we have and we believe in our product. We believe that there's value in it. And we respect you enough to say, hey, we think that you think what we have to offer is valuable and it's worth your $15. And so I'm completely okay with the University of Oklahoma charging $15 for the spring game. Man, it's a drop. That is a drop in the bucket compared to what you'd have to spend to go watch Oklahoma play football in the fall. And if you're trying to take your kids to an event and maybe you don't want to take them on a game day on a Saturday in the fall, because man, taking your whole family, 4 or 5 with 3-4 kids and doing a whole day like that, maybe you don't want to spend that kind of money to do that, but it's a lot more palatable as a family of 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 to go to the spring game and really enjoy your time and not have to be like, man, I just dropped $500, $600 on tickets for my family to go to the spring game. And yeah, it's a great experience, but it's still that's a lot of money. It's a lot to ask, but to say, hey, my family of 5, we got to go to the spring game for $75. That's not as much of an ask. And I think for a lot of folks, it's a great opportunity to get in. Now you could say, hey, they should be not charging anything. But then I go back to the argument that if you value something, you're willing to ask somebody to pay for it.
To me, I'm always sympathetic to Oklahoma fans and families that cost adds up, right? That's at some point, my fiance and wife to be, we want to have a family, we want kids, and guess what? can't totally speak to it yet, but there's costs already. And I know that those costs go up when you have a family and they go up in a big way. So I'm sympathetic to that and understanding of the reality that, there's a lot of families that if this was a free event, maybe they would go. And I don't know that maybe they don't go now because of that. But having said that, to me, it's just bad business to have this type of event. It's once a spring and it's only $15. And oh, by the way, if you're a season ticket holder, it's cheaper than that. It's $10 a ticket. So this is not a $50 spring game ticket. This is a $15 spring game ticket. So to me, I think it's incredibly affordable. It is an experience that the University of Oklahoma and the football program is putting on. And there are costs associated with the football program. Now, Oklahoma happens to be, one of the programs that's, well into the black. They make money, right? They're profitable and not everybody is. And Oklahoma's very profitable on the gridiron. But you know what? This is another reason why is because they can put a spring game on that 40,000 plus people. It was 53,000 a year ago. I'm saying 40,000, I'm hedging a little bit this year. I don't know what the final number will be. It was 70,000 plus the year before that. That was a record crowd. So Oklahoma's a part of a select few that can draw 50,000 fans to a spring game. So why would you turn away $15 times 50,000? That's just silly business.
Yeah, there takes a little bit of a savviness to understand that, hey, we've got a product that people want to see. Let's take advantage of that a little bit. Not take advantage, but let's make a little bit on that, especially as Oklahoma continues to want to, improve their facilities and, be a big player on the national landscape. Hey, you gotta take advantage of every opportunity that you can. And listen, it's a great time. It's a fun time. It's worth your while. 2 years ago, we took our kids. I took, my son, who then was just 1 year old, and my daughter, who was 6. And I will say, taking a 1 year old to a spring game wasn't the best experience, especially because we didn't pack snacks, but he had a great time anyway. Once I finally got back up to the upper deck from the concourse with all the food, he was having a blast. But make sure if you got the youngins, make sure you take them snacks in them clear plastic bags that you can bring into the stadium. Be prepared for that. We were not quite prepared, but next time we will be prepared. So it's a fun time, man. It's just a great opportunity. And again, right kind of at the midway point between the 2023 season and the 2024 season to get you, again, gassed up, geared up, hyped up for what Oklahoma football is going to look like this year.
If you can just think of it as a nice, cheap, tasty appetizer, and just take it for that. It's not the entree. It's not dessert. This is just a nice little appetizer to begin the football meal. So look, money's always going to be a hot topic, but the bottom line is, to me, if the question is, should OU charge for the spring game? Unequivocally, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I'm completely fine. But if Joe C came out tomorrow or next year and said, you know what, we're going to make it free this year, I'd be fine with that too. Who am I to tell Joe Castiglione, one of the best athletic directors in all of college football, and Joseph Harris, who's a really good university president, if they should or should not be charging for the spring game? They're pretty business savvy, these two guys. So, hey, it's going to be a great weekend. Hope everybody's looking forward to it. We're going to continue to get you ready for the spring game. We'll break it all down afterwards as well here on Locked On. So make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts. Again, free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Follow Josh on Twitter at JoshOnRef, myself at John9Williams. But until next time, he's Josh Helmer. I'm John Williams. Boomer Sooner.